Hot topic of the day here on Wednesday. News came out, I think it was yesterday. Michelle Kang, owner of the Washington Spirit in the NWSL, made one of the largest donations, the largest female donation, I believe, to United States Soccer Federation.
Mhm.
30 million smackaroos, Jason.
Yeah, big money from Michelle Kang, who is a very, very wealthy person. I was seeing a little bit of a discussion yesterday. I guess she was called a billionaire in one of the stories about her contribution, but nobody's quite sure if she is, because unlike some other people who are very, very concerned with whether they are called billionaires, she doesn't go out and publicize her net worth. So nobody knows how much Michelle Kang actually has, but
Many
she's got
monies
enough.
there.
She's many money's there. She's got enough to drop 30 mil on U.S. Soccer. This is specifically, as you said, for programs aimed at women and girls. This is about identifying talent, expanding competitive opportunities for girls, providing professional development for players, coaches, and referees. It says it will allow the federation to double the number of national team camps it runs. And there is an argument that more is not always better. But I think in this case, particularly when it comes to the women's and the girls' side of U.S. soccer, more is absolutely better. And I don't know that you close the gap if they're all right. Let's establish this, Robin. Maybe you tell me. We
Okay.
just watched the U.S. women win a gold medal at the Olympics, so clearly the talent is there to achieve at the highest level. It helps that you have a great coach in Emma Hayes. But they won a gold medal, right? After a disappointment at the World Cup last time around in 2023. Do you think there is a developmental gap right now between the United States on the women's side and some of the top soccer playing nations, say the world champion Spanish, for example, or England or France or Germany?
It's hard to say with those European teams, but I do know that there is a gap between the United States and the way they do things in other countries. When I was covering the Chicago Red Stars back in the day, when it came to international break time, I think it was Abby Ursig, who was a New Zealander international. And I heard conversations that they had barely had any camps together whatsoever. And
Hmm.
so the Americans are well drilled, very organized. Those things, those countries you mentioned, Spain and Germany, I'm sure those are increasing. And those countries, I know Germany and some of and France, they started taking these things more seriously much
Yeah.
earlier than a lot of the other countries, especially
Yeah.
Spain. That's only been in the last, what, 5-10 years. But there is a gap internationally between the level of just the amount of training opportunities and amount of time that the teams can even be together. Some federations barely put together budgets for there to be camps at all.
Yeah. So here's a question. When we were talking to Brooks Lambier about college soccer, Nate threw this up. Is college soccer still a pathway to the pro leagues in women's soccer? And if so, will that continue? Now, obviously, Brooks would be better equipped to talk about the college part of that question. But I think it's fair to reason out. It's fair to assume that countries who have extremely strong cultural bases to work from when it comes to soccer are going to be better equipped to develop players than the United States, which has long leaned on college soccer to do that work for it, right? And what I mean by this is I think it was always likely that when Spain paid a little bit of attention to women's football, or England paid a little bit more attention to women's football, and we know Germany had been good for a long time, they were ahead of the curve in Europe. France, when they pay a little bit of attention, what they have going for them is this network of clubs, this baked in idea that if you want to be a professional athlete in those countries, the sport you care about is soccer. Now, they produce basketball players and they produce fencers and they produce tennis players. Of course they do. But soccer is the number one sport for athletes, period, boys and girls. And if you just say, like, you've got all these kids running around kicking balls in all these neighborhoods across Europe, and for a very long time, what all anybody ever cared about was let's take the boys and put them in academies and turn them into professionals, and then they will go win a World Cup or a European Championship, or we'll put them into clubs and they'll win a Champions League. They weren't doing that with girls. Now they're doing that with girls, and those girls are still the same culture is providing them the basis of their abilities, right? The sort of the idea that you can kick around the ball in the neighborhood and become a decent soccer player, that is still a difficult thing in most of America. Right? It's still tough in most of America if you're a soccer playing kid to find 8 or 9 or 10 other soccer playing kids so you can just get better kicking the ball around the way that I used to play, pick up basketball, or we used to go play baseball in whatever field we could find, or whatever. Those things are baked into the European identity. And as soon as they started giving a little bit of money to that, it gives them this massive advantage. U.S. soccer, part of the reason the U.S. women's national team has been so good, and we've been able to maintain our place in the top at the top end of the women's world rankings, is because 40 years ago a law was passed that says you have to invest in girls' sports, and soccer benefited from that. And we had this big advantage because in Europe those players weren't getting any attention. In the United States, they were. And even though we didn't have the cultural basis, we were giving girls the opportunity to play soccer at the college level. I don't know if things are changing enough now, and I think Michelle Kang's her contribution to U.S. soccer is kind of acknowledgement that we can't just sit around and say, all right, Stanford, all right, North Carolina, all right, UConn, develop players for us, and we'll just get them when they're done, and then we'll be a good national team. Right, that's just not going to work anymore. And I don't know. I mean, there are clubs in NWSL who are working on academy structures, but it's so hit and miss. U.S. soccer needs money to be better equipped to go out and find talent, to get them into the system so we can then say, what's the pathway for these players to grow and become professionals?
Anecdotally, talking about, we were saying the prime European countries that you think of as just football culture in their blood, the Spains, the Englands, and whatnot. Just to show how far England has come once they started to deem this as, I guess, worthy of money and attention, I was in grade school in the 90s, and during my time there in like 4th or 5th grade, the first girl to ever play for their soccer team occurred in the 1990s.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, soccer was literally banned for women for multiple decades, and they couldn't even understand. You're like, a girl? What would you ever want to be doing on the soccer team? So they've come a long way. My question here on the topic of the Kang and domestically, my only thing, it's awesome that she's putting money into women's sports, but is the United States Soccer Federation the entity in which you trust to put? Oh, I'm surprised that's the entity that you would trust to put your money in.
Who else is it's kind of, I don't know how Michelle Kang feels about it, and I know lots of us look sideways at U.S. soccer for some of the missteps that they've taken over the last insert number of years here, but I don't think there's any other organization equipped to best utilize this much money to benefit the game. I mean, they are in charge of the national teams. They are in charge of talent identification to bring those players into the national teams. They are the best equipped to put those teams or those players on a stage where they can get attention. And maybe some of these players, I mean, maybe the pathways will open up. We can argue whether from a parental perspective and a societal perspective, it's good to professionalize kids at the age of 14 and 15 and 16. I don't want to talk about that right now. But if you do imagine that it should be good for girls to get into systems to help them become professionals a la the boys, well, then this is really the only organization that exists in this country that has anything near the capability to use it properly, Robert. I can't guarantee you they will, but if she trusts them to handle this money and to utilize it effectively, then I don't know. I mean, it's better to have it in there than to not.
Yeah, point taken. And what else is that nation spanning sort of reach than USSF? But you don't necessarily put financial prowess and responsibility next to the USSF. I don't think anyone necessarily ties those two things together. And I hope
but Robert, I think the point here is this gift is specifically earmarked. Now, how the paperwork is handled to make sure of that, I can't tell you. I don't know if there's some sort of overseeing entity that's like, well, you spent Michelle Kang's money on a boys team. That's a violation. Like I can't guarantee. I don't know how any of that works. But what I can tell you is if she has in place some guardrails to make sure U.S. Soccer is using it the way she wants, that at least funnels it where she wants it to go. Like, again, effective use is a different question, another big giant step. But to have the money specifically into the women's game, I think is what Michelle Kang cares about here.
Yes, she might get herself, if this all goes well, she might get herself into the Soccer Hall of Fame with her contributions, what she's done for the Washington Spirit, and then now this donation. She's really made a huge impact, and in her team in the NWSL final at the weekend.
She's kind of becoming, on the men's side, there are a couple different candidates. Obviously, right now it's Arthur Blank, who has given U.S. Soccer a ton of money, and they've built the new facility in Atlanta, and there's things there. Uncle Arthur, he's sort of the patron saint of U.S. Soccer on some level. Phil Anschutz was this guy for a long time because he was putting money into Major League Soccer, and we don't have to talk about the person that Phil Anschutz is outside of his soccer contributions, but he was doing that. So you kind of had this figure. Michelle King seems to be becoming that person for the women's game, that she is this person who says, I care so much about soccer. She owns Olympique Lyon in France. She bought that team as well when they split off from the other group that is in big trouble on the men's side. But she seems to be completely committed to growing soccer in America. And who am I to say she's wrong for any of that?
A total pot shot here. The U.S. Open Cup is called the Lamar Hunt, big philanthropist, and did a lot. What about if the Open Cup ever has a women's side, call it the Kang Cup?
Absolutely. I would be 100% on board with that. That is a brilliant idea. You've heard that here first on Morning Kick Around. Somebody put that out there. Let's go.
Yeah, MK Ultras, get that stirring out there in the mix.
Morning Kick Around, Michelle Kang. See how that kind of dovetails? We got the double MK working right now. Let's go.
Harry in the chat, bringing up the conversation about Eric Quill to New Mexico. If you were late to the show, Harry, we covered that in long ball, so we had a bit of a robust conversation about the coaching carousel, and we did touch on Eric Quill. All right, MK Ultras, we need you to get the people out there to like and subscribe the Morning Kick Around YouTube channel. Our subscribers are ticking right along, and that is the big platform to take the next step with this program.
Yeah, I will put out a couple of news and notes. I know we're creeping towards 400 on the subscriber side. I would like us to get there. I did put out on Blue Sky, Davis Jason on Blue Sky, that once I got to 1,000 followers over there, I would maybe start giving away some of the stuff. You can see lots of scarves behind me, but trust me, there's a lot more in this room. In fact, can we just, for 1 second, can we go to a wide shot without Robert on screen, Jenny, just so I can show a little bit more of what's going on?
Oh, no.
Now it's just Robert. There. Okay, now he's off. You can't hear him. But see, some of this stuff, there's more. This is not everything. This is what I'm talking about. Okay, you can bring Robert back there because I feel bad he can't be heard anymore. But I said I would give some stuff away once I got to 1,000 followers on Blue Sky. I'm past that number, like pretty far past that number now, so I need to pay up. Maybe we'll also do a giveaway here once we get to 400 subscribers on Morning Kicker. And we're very close. We're very close to 400. Just 22 more people subscribe to the channel today, and we can get it to a place where I can give some stuff away. I figure what I'll do is probably have to do an inventory, so follow me on Blue Sky for that, or maybe we'll post a video with the full inventory of Jason's bric-a-brac. American Soccer Bric-a-brac with Jason Davis is coming up very soon on Morning Kick Around.
Love that. Love that. Thank you, Brooks, for joining us on the show today. And thanks, as always, to Jenny for running things behind the scenes. And we look forward to Friday and the return of club football. So until next time, everybody, enjoy your soccer.